And if you haven't had a chance to watch the part one video, of course, it's up and there for you. And if you have any questions, you can ask the questions underneath the video stream. And you can also leave me comments or whatever you need to right on the stream and tag me on it. Well, I get a message or notification when anybody comments on my videos. So that's okay. You can just leave me a message and then I can get back and answer the question that you have. One and the first video, I talked about fear, what you need to do to get registered, to get your business registered. Make sure you love the person that you're going into business with if they're a partner. I talked about work-life balance. These are all things that you need to know before you get started on your business. And today I'm going to talk about what to expect when you start your small business and what to expect when you start your small business and a couple things that you need to know or that you need to do. And I also have a book that I used when I started my business. So I am going to gear this towards a sewing business. Although I do not have a sewing business anymore, I have a technical business, but the rules of business still apply regardless of what it is you do or what you plan to do. But as far as getting started and what you should do, is going to pertain mostly to sewing business. If you're starting a small sewing business from home, or if you're starting a small partnership. Let me write something down here. Making myself a note. Okay, so I have notes. All right, so I'm going to get started. Hello, everybody. All right. First things first. Here's what we need to do when we're talking about starting a sewing business or a small sewing business. And I have these points written down that, like I said, I want to share with you guys my own personal experience and some things that or some things or some issues that I had when I started my business that hopefully you guys will avoid. And then some things that these are things that I could have done better when I first started, just things that I've learned during the process of being my own boss and having my own company per se. So I'm going to get started. Now, the first thing I want to talk about that's very important that you need to do when you're getting started is you need to understand sales. Your business is going to be totally about sales. Hey, Sharon. So when I talk about your business is going to be about sales, this is where the hustle comes in. When I talked about the hustle in the first video, what the hustle is what you're going to constantly be doing to get your business name out there. Social media. If you're going to be on social media, you can start a blog if you have time, but know that blogs take a lot of time. The content takes a lot of thought. So if you're selling a product, instead of a blog, you may want to set up a sales / website where people can purchase goods from you. If you want to get out on social media and start blogging, or if that is your plan of attack for your business, then you can go ahead and start blogging. Like I said, know that it takes a lot of time. I have a website that is a blog that has not been updated since my son went to prom 2 or so years ago. It's a lot of time to think up content and to figure out what to put in the post, and what people are going to like to read. So I was active with it maybe for about a good year and a half. And I started it like back in 2011 or whatever, but it wasn't a part of my business. I think if it should have been, if it was, or if I did blog during my business, that probably would have took off. But like I said, a blog is a job within itself. It's a lot of work and a lot of keeping it up, keeping up. So if you're going to go out on social media, make yourself like a business Facebook page and then post there and sell, constantly sell. If you're going to be a seamstress or if you're going to sell clothing, my number one thing is wherever you go, I don't care if it's to the mailbox, you need to be wearing something that you made. Um, if you're producing a craft item, I would suggest that you figure in your budget to give away a few of these things to people that you know that make good contact. Maybe you have a brother and a sister-in-law that like to entertain. Maybe you can give them something of whatever it is that you make. So when people come over, they'll see your item or your product. It's all about sales and letting people know what you do, what your services are, or what you're selling. The hustle is real. You have to remember, when you are an entrepreneur, if you don't work, you don't get paid. That's where people say, oh, I work all day, I work all night, I work all day, I work all night, because they get addicted to the cash flow. And they know if they stop and take a break, the cash flow stops. So if you take off on Monday and Tuesday, and then you go back to work on Wednesday, know that your work from Monday and Tuesday, you won't get paid for. Not unless you're generating some other types of income, or say, for instance, you have a product that you sell on a separate website and that money is coming in constantly, that's different. But if you're just starting out, you will definitely be working all the time, because you got to start generating some income. You got to start generating product. You got to start generating the business in order to, quote unquote, take days off. So don't expect to be able to take a week off to go to Paris, because you're going to have to do whatever you can to get your business started. So remember, when you're an entrepreneur, if you don't work, you don't get paid. Okay. But don't let that be the deciding factor of you working and slaving like a dog. I still believe in work-life balance. And if I need to take a day off, then I will take a day off. If it's just for self-care, or I have something to do with my family, just as if I had a 9 to 5, I will go ahead and take a day off. But you better believe that I'm prepared to take a day off if I have some residual income that I can use to make up for that day being off. Just like if you have a vacation day at a 9 to 5, you have to be able to make sure that you have some kind of money that you've generated and set aside for any emergencies or days that you need to take off. Okay. Sales, sales, sales. I can't say it enough. If you do not have the gift for gab, which means some people are introverts, natural introverts, figure out another way that you can get your word out. If it's through social media, where you really don't have to do much talking, or maybe you have a friend that's totally behind you that wants to do all of that stuff for you. That's fine. Don't forget that you probably have to pay this friend. But if you're an introvert and you have an issue or problems with talking to people, you kind of have to get over that, because it's your business. And when people are doing business with you or doing business with your brand, you have to be able to speak to people and let them know what it is that you're selling. Why is your product good? Why do why should you choose me instead of choosing someone else? So if you don't have the gift of gab, it's okay, but you do have to overcome your fear of people, because being in business is all about sales, and sales is all about pitching and presenting to people. All right. Definitely, definitely. I've myself have never been an introvert. I love being the center of attention. I like cracking jokes and having fun, but I had to learn how to kind of reel it in and make people understand that, okay, what I have here is important and of some relevance to you. So let's get together and figure out how I can go to work for you. So um, it can be a plus, not being an introvert, but it can also be negative because some people get so filled with confidence, you don't know what's flowing out of their mouth. You have to watch how you speak to people because everybody takes things a little bit different. You ever post on social media and think you were just being a little honest or uh, speaking your opinion and it hurt people's feelings? Same thing when you're doing business. You have to understand how people are going to perceive you and what it is you're doing or what it is you're selling. That's actually very important. All right. So, oh boy. Um, when it comes to your business, you have to have sources, or I talked about building relationships and working with people in the area. Sourcing business is building relationships is a great way to source business with people in the area. Introduce yourself to whoever the dry cleaner is if you're starting a small salon business. Introduce yourself to actually a couple dry cleaners. Introduce yourself to the person at Joann. Introduce yourself to the people at the fabric stores. When you're at Joann, meet the manager. These are people that can provide services for you as you can provide services for them. Joann is a good example. Although it's a commercial business, you can talk to their manager, store manager, corporation, or whoever the district person is. Maybe they'll give you a discount on bulk. They also have, Joann has programs for people who have businesses. You get like 10 or 15% off just for going in there and buying stuff. If you send your people to them to buy uh, tools or fabric or whatever, you get a discount. They also do business with people that have tax exempt accounts. So if you are running a uh, sewing class for your church, churches are tax exempt and they take that into consideration. If you go to a local fabric store, that's even better. The local fabric stores and the local quilting stores are privately owned, and they may be able to have a better relationship built with you than a commercial business. So make sure you look into those. Businesses help other businesses, but it's up to you to go and research and find out what it is that they can offer you and that you can offer. Okay. Definitely, definitely, definitely. All right. Point number 2 I want to talk about is pricing. Um, First of all, before I start talking about pricing, let me show you guys this book. This book is called So to Success. The lady's name is Kathleen Spike. This is the book that I used when I launched my home sewing business. I read this book. It's 128 pages. And in this book, she has all different kinds of things. She talks about taxes. She talks about setting up your workspace. She talks about some success stories, some failure stories, starting your business, what you do first. This was a great resource for me. Garment labels, talking to a tax specialist. This was a wonderful A to Z book that was easy. She even has croquets. I use these croquets when I had people come over. I got them enlarged and printed out. So whenever I had a person come over, I could use this, put this in their file, write down their measurements, and I had a file made for each person. She has an invoice that you can reference. She also had comments that you can put in your garment package when someone picks up a product. It was kind of like a survey, how am I doing type thing. Um, she also has like a basic pricing sheet. So from this pricing sheet, what you can do is here's her price list, construction price list. She has base garment construction price list and a construction price list. This is what I used. And what I did was I tailored it to my specific needs. What she does in this book is she takes a base price. So we're talking about pricing now. One more time, let me show you the book, Sold to Success. It's a great read. Try and find it on Amazon if you have any questions on pricing. I had another book that I have for pricing. That one I use sometimes, but this one was my go-to source. And she covered a lot of things, even cleaning the bathroom when people come over. So let's talk about pricing. I see a lot of people talking about, wow, my prime dress start at 1,500. Oh, my so-and-so starts at this. My number one advice to you all is to stay in your lane. If you've only been sewing for 2 or 3 years, I don't expect for you to charge what somebody who's been sewing for 20 years charge. Everybody's time is valuable. That I understand. But if you're only sewing for 3 years, and then you have somebody that's been sewing for 23 years, let's say we're charging the same amount. She's charging $1,200 for a dress. She's charging $1,200 for a dress. What's going to show is the product itself, okay? Because this person that's been sewing for 23 years, not only has she been doing it longer, but she's had more experience. She knows what is liked, what is frowned upon, what has to be delivered in order to charge $1,200. This person's only been out there for 2 years, although they know how to sew. They haven't really had the business experience. They haven't had the garments come back, just the experience period. So with that, I say stay in your lane. If you've only been sewing for a few years, it's not a wise decision to make to charge more than your skill level is worth. If you're concerned about, okay, well, I think I'm doing pretty good, let someone who's been sewing for a long time critique your garment. Put your big girl panties on, because when you ask somebody to critique your work, that's exactly what they do. They critique your work. But then again, you don't want to charge so little money that people are taking advantage of you. So here's what I say. When you are in business and you're a new business owner, as opposed to somebody who's been working for years, they've given themselves raises. When you're first starting out, figure how much per hour. This is what I did. Figure how much per hour you were worth. Now, in the technical world, I was worth a lot of money per hour. So I could not very well take my technical skill and throw it here on my sewing skill. I knew that I was not going to make as much money sewing as I was making as a technical professional. Okay, so let's just take a $1 an hour amount. In my technical life back then, when I was working for corporate America, I was making about $45 an hour. So I couldn't take $45 an hour and put it in my sewing life. My work really wasn't there. I wasn't as confident as I am now. The confidence really wasn't there. So I'm like, well, gee, I've only been sewing for a little while. I know I can't charge people that much. So what I did was I said, okay, I think I did my research around asking some dry cleaners and how much you charge for this, how much you charge for that. I figured, okay, I'm not going to make minimum wage because I'm too old for that. So I figured, well, let me start off at $12 an hour. So that's just a round number that I'm choosing today. $12 an hour. And you got an inquiry where somebody saw a dress that you made and 3 people said, I want that dress. So what you do is you think about how long did it take me to make this dress? This dress took me 4.5 hours. Okay. 4.5 hours is prep time, sew time, back and forth to the iron. Prep time, I mean cutting the pattern or going to the store to get the pattern, cutting the pattern, laying your fabric out, doing the markings, everything, okay, on the table. 4.5 hours. Fabric store ain't but about 2 minutes from my house. So I knew what pattern I wanted. So that trip took literally 15 minutes. And so we're adding everything in 4.5 hours. So what I do is I take my hourly wage and I put it into how long it takes me to make this dress. So we're going 4 to 24, 8, 48, and 1/2 is 4, 2, 8 and 4 is 12, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So it's costing me $72 to make this dress. And that is 4.5 hours at $12 an hour. That's going to be my base price. Now, here's one thing. Some women charge, all my dresses are $175. That's my base price. And then we go from there. When I was sewing professionally, I did not have a certain base price that I charged for every dress because everything takes a different amount of time to make. And as I started sewing for myself and sewing for people, I just kept a little record of how long it took for me to make something. Okay. So I take my dollar an hour and an estimated time that it's going to take me. The only thing I did with general, I said, okay, generally it takes me 8 hours to make a dress. So I take my dollar an hour times 8 hours. And then this is what she talks about. Those are my base prices. Now, for the price to go up, does the person need pleats? Do they need a zipper? So depending on the difficulty of the garment, you add extra money. So we're saying my base price is $72, but she wants pleats. That's another $5. She wants a metal separating zipper. That's another $5. So this is where your price starts to add up. Start with a base price, and depending on the difficulty of the garment, add for each skill. So this is all about skill level. Pleats, gathers, zippers, shoulder pads, lining. Those are extra things that you can charge for on your base price. And so now when a person says, well, my budget is only $150. After you say my base price is $72. What is your budget? Well, my budget is $125. So now with that extra money, between the difference between $125 and $72, you have to consider you'll factor into your customer the price of however difficult the garment is. But now you can determine without fabric, because this is your price without fabric. Now you can determine what kind of budget this person has for fabric. Anyway, I was talking about pricing. So what you have to do is you take your dollar an hour and your time that you think it's going to take you to complete a garment. Let's say we're at $72. Thanks, Carrie. That's our base price. And then to add to your base price is, do they want jewels? To add jewels to a dress or hand beading is $10. For $10 for 40 beads or whatever. So you add this up and give them their price. And when they say, well, you may say, okay, with my base price, plus you want pleats, a lining, and a zipper, now my price has gone up $100 to $125. Well, this garment's going to cost $125, and that's just for my labor and no no fabric. So if they say, well, my budget is only $150. So my thing is, get your base price, how long it's going to take you to do the job, get all of those numbers correct in your head, and then you can say that to your customer. It's going to cost you $125 without fabric. This is labor only for this project. Then you can ask them what your budget is. So don't say, well, it's going to cost $100, and then you're not factoring in lining, you're not factoring in pleats, and you're not factoring in anything that has to be done to these garments, because now you're cheating yourself out of extra time that's going to happen. When you do your contract, always make sure that it's an estimated time. I used to give people a timesheet of how when I stopped working, when I started working, so they can see exactly how long it took me to make their garment. Okay. Any phone calls or anything that you make to them, that's included in the time. So say for an hour, you're doing straight stitching, and then you got to call and ask her a question, which takes 15 minutes. That's inside the hour. That all goes in the same time. You don't charge extra for phone calls because it's done during that working time that you're doing. So when they say, so when I say, okay, it's going to cost $125 for this dress, and they say, well, my budget is only $150, then you take that extra $25, and that's what you buy fabric. That will determine what type of fabric that this customer is going to pay for. Now, if you want to go out, and this is just how I used to do it. So now if my person says, I only got $125, that means that she has $25 for fabric. So if she's asking for a dress that's going to be, she wants the top of the line fabric, then she's going to have to come off of more money. But then it's up to you to say, well, you have a $25 difference here in what I'm going to charge and what your budget is. If your budget is only $125, then I can only buy fabrics that cost this much. Your dress is going to take 2 yards, so we can't go higher than $11 or $10 a yard for your fabric, because you're going to exceed the amount of your budget. So it's up to them to say, I want to go higher, or it doesn't mind. I don't mind what kind of fabric. So it's up to you to take that extra money until, and let them pay for their fabric. I always did that. I never included fabric in my pricing, because some people want silk and they don't have a silk budget. So when I tell them what's available at the money that they have, then it's up to them to if they want better fabric, they're going to have to pay more money. And it doesn't have to be paid to me unless I spend the time going to shop for the fabric, because that's a charge as well. But other than that, it's up to them. I can consult them, and okay, when you buy fabric that costs $2 a yard, don't plan on washing it so many times, because it's not gonna look nice after 2 wears or whatever. But that's part of what your consultation is. Whenever you have a consultation with a client, those are the things that you discuss: your pricing, how much fabric will be. Don't make fabric a secret to people. Anybody can go to the store and see how much something costs. So, if you think you're getting over, well, I only paid $3 a yard for this fabric, and I charged her $1,200 for the dress. Eventually, it's gonna come around to bite you in the ass. So don't do that to yourself. Tell your customer what your base price is and how much you charge for these extra items, because they're going to be in the garment that they choose. And then you have your base price plus any difficulty or extras. I mean, zippers, pleats, lining, welt pockets, whatever we do to custom garments, hand beading, applique services. have a price for all of that stuff, and then you can give them a more exact price on what it is that that they want. Then whatever they have left in their budget after you get paid goes to fabrics. And if they want to splurge on fabric, then they got to come off the money. If they want to come off the money, then they can give it to you to shop, and then you can add on to your base price and your services that consultation and that time that you're going to spend shopping. Okay. Did I make myself clear on that? I just want to make sure I came across clear. It's your hourly wage times how many hours it takes you to complete a project. This is why men's suits cost so much, in case you were wondering. Then you add on extra services or extra difficulty. And then ask your client what their budget is, and the difference between this number and the budget is how much they're going to have to spend on fabric. And it's up to the client to add more money to more fabric, because when you're starting a home business, you need to have more than one source for fabrics. Don't just buy your stuff from Joann. Go to the local quilt shop and see what kind of cotton they have. They may not have apparel fabric, but they will have some nice cottons that you can use for summer dresses if somebody wants summer dresses or skirts. Check out the people online that are selling on Cara. Always have have at least 3 or 4 sources for fabric that you can choose from. Do you charge for shopping for fabric? Yes, I did. I did charge, and I charged my hourly wage. So if I was out shopping for fabric for 2 hours, then that person got an extra 2 hours on that base charge. That consulting time went into my extras. That went under the zipper, pleats, shoulder pads, lining, shopping. The base charge is strictly what my labor for making your garment. It had nothing to do with consultation, had nothing to do with shopping, because it's different for each garment. A dress, I never said that my base price for dresses is $250, because if somebody asked me to make a wedding dress, which I have, I couldn't start my base price at $250. That's why I say don't charge the same base price for every dress you make. Somebody may just want a piece of fabric to cover up their boobs that may take 20 minutes. So each dress, each garment, not each dress, each garment has a different base price, because each garment takes a certain amount of time to make. You know what your speed is. You know how long it takes you to make pants. You know how long it takes you to make pajama pants versus a pair of blue jeans. So it's all about how long does it take you to make this particular garment. So that's where you have a different price point, because each garment requires different skills and different extras. Okay. So I had a base price, but it was dependent on what it was that they brought to me and said, this is what I want. What is my price? And then don't ever, if you're not sure, don't price anything right away. Tell that person, you know what? Let me look into a few things and see what exactly it is that you need, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. It's okay to get back to people tomorrow if you have to research and find out a few things about what it is that they need. Just make sure when you say you're going to call them tomorrow, call them back tomorrow, because they're going to be expecting to hear from you about what it is they want. So call them back with your answer. Then you had time to sit down and say, okay, I charge this much for this. And then you can say, my base price plus extras are going to be this. And here's my extras, because you want a zipper here. You want your garment line. These are the extra charges. And this is how much the base is going to be, because it's going to probably take me about 7 hours to complete this dress. Always estimate and put that on your contract. Your price needs to be an estimation, because if you estimate 5 hours of work and something goes wrong and it ends up being 10 hours of work. You don't want to cheat yourself out of that extra 5 hours. You need to estimate and you need to let your client know, I've run into this problem because this is going to need to be done and this is going to need to be done, which is going to add another 5 hours to your garment. So it's up to you to either demand the money from the client or you can negotiate the money from the client. That's completely up to you, but you have to let them know whatever your every move is. You're providing a service. If you're going to be a seamstress or you're designing a dress, you're providing a service and they need to know about where their money is going and what is exactly it is that you're doing. I always made sure I communicated with my people, just so there was no miscommunication. They got what they wanted. I was able to get paid for my services and there was no question at all and bringing back. I can happily say that I never had anybody bring anything back. Okay. Cree asks, do you ask for a deposit or the entire fee up front? What I used to do, and I don't know if this is going to work for others, but this is what I used to do, is I used to get upfront 1/3, and usually I had 2 fittings, a fitting in the middle, or the muslin fitting was the first one. Then the second fitting was my final fitting. If you want to do 3 fittings, then break it up into 4 payments. So what I used to do is I used to get 1/3 of the money up front, which was completely non-refundable. And I also got, and 1/3 of the money up front included my consultation fee and any shopping I had to do. So 1/3 of the dress, my consultation, and any shopping. That money I got up front. The second money came when we had the first fitting. And then the next final payment came when you had the final fitting. So I got paid before they picked up their dress. So when the final fitting came, that's when I got my last payment. And then I called them when their item was ready. Okay. And I did that with the men also. All right, so that's how I collected money. I didn't do anything up front. I didn't never take all of my money up front. And the reason why is because I worked with adults. I didn't do, when I did prom dresses and prom, I didn't do business with the kids. I did business with their parents because they understand about getting paid. And even if little Susie had a job and was paying for it herself, her parents were involved to approve the dress. Her parents were involved to make sure I got paid and to make sure that the dress was picked up and to make sure that she liked what she designed and that the parents were happy with what they designed. Kids that are 17 and 18, they have jobs, but they're not grown. Stop doing business with these young kids. Do business with their parents because they understand business, because they do it themselves and they have real jobs that support households and buy groceries to feed families. That's who you do business with. Okay. So when I had my contract signed, it was signed by the child because they were working, but it was also signed by the parent saying, okay, I'm behind her and I back it up. Okay. But I did not do business with 17-year-olds. I did not. It just, I don't have the patience for the 17-year-old mentality. I had a child and I didn't want to talk to anybody's child like they were mine. So I made sure I did not do business with them. Okay. So yeah, I was always paid and there was never any issues with payment. When final payment was due, I let the child know, although they were working, but I also let the parent know too. Final payment is due when she comes in for her final fitting. Just so you'll know, in case she doesn't have the money, parents will usually be like, all right, I'll just give her the money and she can pay me back later. They'll make sure that the kids' dreams come true, especially if it's prom. So, and then you don't have to worry about the young ones, not having enough money or not being able to afford what it is you're putting out. I see a lot of people, want to charge $1,300 and $1,400 for prom dresses. Um, 17 just don't have that. 17 don't make enough money to afford that. So when there's an issue or a problem, why are you surprised? And I saw that a lot this past season. I'm like, why are you surprised 17 don't have $1,200? I know some people that are 45 that don't have $1,200. So that means that your pricing is not reasonable and it's not realistic for that customer. If you sew for people that are 45 and over, that are established in their work, probably working on being empty nesters if they're not already, they have that kind of money. You can charge that because you know that they'll pay it and you know that you'll make it. But if you're going to be making prom dresses, you have to come straight out to the child and the parents, because the child ain't doing nothing but seeing this fancy, beautiful dress and they're excited. But the parent knows reality and can talk the child into, hey, that might be a little bit too much, or let's not do this. You got to pay for this and you got to pay for this. You got to pay for this. Now, mine, I don't know if you guys have seen a purple prom dress that I made for my niece. She paid for her dress, and did everything, the fittings and everything. But I told my sister, and my sister was like, this is all on her. I said, then I'm not going to make her dress. Me and you have to talk about this and we have to agree. And this is my sister now. We have to agree on things. I'm not going to deal with her, period. You have to be in the background and I have to know that you're there. And I made them sign contracts. Although I did her dress for free as a gift, there still was contracts. And that was for my sister can hold her accountable and her responsible for working with me. So you can even do things like that. Just make sure you have your contracts ready, and your contracts need to state everything. If you are starting your business and you don't like people sneezing in your house, put that on your contract. You are not allowed to sneeze in my house. Your contract can say whatever you want it to say. And it's not even within reason. It can say whatever you want it to say. This is your business. Remember, it's your business. It's your effort. It's your sweat equity. Whenever you get burned by the iron or stuck by a pin, you got to remember that all of that pain is worth it. That was another reason why I quit the business. I had like X amount of burns on my arm. I was like, I look abused. Okay, but anyway. Oh, does anybody have any more questions about pricing while I'm talking about pricing? Everything I talked about is in this book. I adapted her way of pricing because I thought it made sense, because my skill level was high at the time, but it wasn't that high. I wasn't doing heirloom projects, and I had done a few wedding dresses and I've done wedding dress alterations, but my silk level wasn't up there. So somebody who wanted 100% silk dress, I really had to think about whether or not I needed to take them on. I also took into consideration how much advice I could give people or how I could deliver my message. I did a lot of big home deck projects. So that was a lot of my sewing when I first started doing a lot of home projects. All right. So if anybody has anything about pricing as we're going through, I'll be checking the messages just to answer some pricing questions. Okay. Number 3, I want to talk to you about number 1 is sales. Number 2, I talked about pricing. Number 3, I want to talk about breaking out of the bubble. This is for when you first starting. You can start making skirts. You can start just making dresses. But as you develop your business, let's say you're a year in, I don't want you to get bored with your your product or what you're producing. If you're successful at it and it's going well, that's fine. Stay in your lane, but make sure you can grow. What I knew was when I first started sewing, was the more that I knew how to do, the more money I could make. So I've actually visited pretty much all the realms of sewing except heirloom. When I was sewing custom, when I first started my business, I did pajamas and I did teaching. This is where I started, making pajamas and teaching. Then I said, okay, well, I'm getting better at clothing. Then I started clothing and I kept teaching because I enjoyed it. Okay. Then after a while, prom dresses got old. I did a few weddings and got pissed off. I'm like, okay, prom dresses. I've done pajamas and custom formal wear. Let me try home styling. So, and I knew I wanted to dabble into menswear, but I knew menswear took a little bit more. So I enrolled myself in tailoring school while I was doing this other stuff. Then I learned so much in tailoring school. So I'm investing in myself. The money that I was making teaching and making pajamas, I was able to put a little bit aside. I put some back into the business, which you definitely have to do, whether you're buying tools, thread, a new sewing machine, another computer, some printer paper and ink. You got to invest back into your business. So I put some money back into my business. I put some money into my household because I was running my business to help support. And then I took some money and invested it in myself. I went to tailoring school. I got some subscriptions to Threads magazine and some other magazines so I can read up on techniques and learning other things. I worked part-time at a fabric store so I could gain product knowledge and learn about fabrics and become the fabric whisperer. I wanted to know so much. That doesn't stop. But when you're in a business, now you have a little money to help you get a little further in learning those things. So I knew I wanted to go into menswear because I was like, well, gee, menswear, I know I could charge more money. And so I learned more technique. I learned how to slow down. I learned how to sew correctly. I learned how to eyeball an eighth of an inch. I learned how to do a whole lot of stuff in tailoring school. And that's when my skills got way better. My skills went from 1 to 1,000 literally in a few months because of what I learned in technical school, goodness, what I learned in tailoring school. That's when I started getting my big jobs. And when I started getting the real big jobs, I was still working from home, but I had to kind of up my game a little bit. I was already organized. I learned how to say no, and I knew what it was that I could do, and my confidence level was up. And so this was after about 4 years. I said, okay, I'm breaking out of my bubble. Slowly break out of the bubble. Don't ever say, I only do skirts. Don't cut off your money. Learn and teach yourself how to grow so you can break out of the bubble and learn how to do more things. So I went to tailoring school, and that's when I got bigger. I got better home deck projects. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do? I needed a portfolio. I'm just going to show you guys this real quick. Portfolios show people your work and things that you've done. Here's some stuff that I've done. Those are some magazines. So I don't know if you guys know, but I did 7 magazines for Better Homes and Gardens. And these are pictures of my work from the magazines. So I have a portfolio of then all these pictures you see are things that I did. This, curtains, all of all of this stuff. Now I can go anywhere. Although this was several years ago, and there's my business card, and this ain't nothing but a photo book. I can take this with me and prove to anybody that I know what I'm doing. I know how to sew. I had a business. Here's some of my work. I was an educator for Elna. I wrote a surgery manual for them. So and this was years ago, you guys, but I still have it. I have work. I have a professional portfolio of professional work that I've done. Whenever you do anything with a magazine, they send you a copy so you have portfolios of your work. I can take this stuff and say, okay, here's some of my work. This is what I can do. This is a fashion show I did maybe 2005 or 2004. 2004. This is the fashion show that I did. These are some of the garments that I made. So you have to take pictures of your work. I cannot express that more. Take pictures of your work. So when people say, can you make me such and such, show them your work. This is what keeps it from coming back to you to burn and to bite you in the butt. It leaves your customer with a sense of, okay, she knows what she's doing. If I have any problems, I can bring it back to get it fixed. This is IKEA. Lots of work I did for those guys. So you have to keep, here's a display that I did for them a while ago. What you have to do is you have to keep records of things that you've made. This was a cover, IKEA cover I did in 2007. Those are all my pillows. This is on the cover of their catalog that they mailed out. So what you have to do is you have to keep record. This is a live record of what I can do and what I can prove to people what I do. I don't need social media. I don't need Instagram. I want people to see physically what it is I've done. Whenever you go somewhere or people come, have some samples out. Let them look under it. Let them look around it so they can feel confident in your skill. Once you have a good, faithful, loyal client, they're going to always come back because they know what you can do. I've been out of business since 2010 and I still have people calling me. Can you do this? Can you do that? But I tell them no, but I've built relationships and I have places that I can send them. No, I don't do that anymore, but you can go see such and such. She'll do a great job for you. I have a friend of mine that I send her a lot of business, and she gets all of my old residual business from people that have been calling me and, that still call me to this day. So make sure you have a portfolio of your work. Any fashion shows that you do, young girls that go to prom, you take their picture. Don't get the ghetto pictures of them on the, on the Jaguar with their dates. We're not interested in their date. We're interested in your skill, the dress that you made. You take their picture and then you don't have to worry about, she went to prom and I didn't get no pictures of her. You take the picture. It's your responsibility to fill up your portfolio with your work and your pictures. So what I did was I took the photos. Wait, I'm going to show you guys a picture of a dress a young lady designed. Years ago, she designed this dress. And I wasn't going to wait for her to come back. Here's a picture. She designed her own dress. And she had a night out. So I'm like, you know what? Let me get your picture. And I took the pictures myself. And so now I had my own pictures to put in my portfolio. And I didn't have to wait for her to come home. I didn't have to see her and her date. I didn't need to do that. Keep portfolios of your work to show whoever, especially if you're going to take on big jobs. When I took on these big company jobs, that's the first thing they asked me was, do you have any work that you can show us? And pictures of the young lady on top of the Jaguar is not what I wanted to show IKEA. They needed to see a professional portfolio and some work that I photographed myself and put in a book to present. So make sure you do that. I see a lot of people complaining about little Susie got drunk and wasn't able to take no pictures. Now I don't have any pictures of my dress. Why would you want to spend 20 hours on a gown and not have a picture of it? Don't wait on 17 to send you a picture, because 17 don't care. 17 got your dress on and it's time to party. Okay? Break out of the bubble. Don't just do skirts. Don't just teach. Don't just do this. Do menswear. Do dresses. Do prom dresses. Do wedding gowns. Wait, let me show you guys the strangest project I've ever done. I met some young ladies. Do kids wear. Casey was always my muse. Always. I was always somewhere sewing some little armholes. And this is the way you learn. And you learn, different techniques for different techniques. This is how you learn different techniques. Purses. I made my share of purses back in the day. I won't make another purse though. This was a dress that I did, this one and this one, for a magical choir for Plainfield High School. This is the Queen's dress. So these are 18th century dresses. And this one was she was a peasant wench or something she was. These dresses are made out of velvet. I never worked with so much velvet. And then when you open this up, this one had another skirt. This dress here weighed about 8 pounds because they were made exclusively for the 18th century, this, that, and the other, whatever. But these dresses were, the Queen's dress was all velvet. I charged $700 for that one. And the peasant dress was $500. And the young ladies were juniors in high school, and they wore the dresses actually twice to the magical ball or whatever they had, like a dinner. And they invited me to one of them. It was absolutely wonderful. And I still keep in touch with the father of the girls who I made the dresses for. But they're long out of college or whatever. But this was my chance to make a dress from the 18th century. I thought I would never do that. This was my chance to learn how to work with velvet, learned how to work with organza. I learned and understood the construction of these dresses, that they have underdresses and they have this. So this broke me out of my bubble. The more you know, the more marketable you are, the more money you can make. And that's with any business. Start off with one thing and stay in your lane, but don't be afraid to expand your knowledge and to expand your talent and grow. This is where growth comes from. Okay. The last thing I want to tell you before I sign off is, when you're doing your business, the first year, don't expect profits. You are not going to profit your first year in business. Everybody knows that. Most professionals, accountants, or whatever will tell you it takes at least 3 years to profit from your business. Yes, you are going to be doing work, and yes, you are going to see work coming. You're going to see money coming in. And like I talked about in my first session, was to keep your costs low, or your costs are going to be minimal. Make sure when that money comes in, you're not going to see a whole lot of profit. You're going to see a little bit of profit, because you're going to take some of that money and you're going to reinvest it back into your business. When you're reinvesting in your business is expanding and your business is growing. Although it's not making a whole bunch of money, but you're obtaining more tools. You're obtaining more knowledge. So you're growing as an individual. You're getting a better iron. You got a better computer system. You have a better way of operating. You have a professional portfolio now. So these are the things that you're going to be spending your money on. Okay. And then once you have the sleeve board, the better iron, the computer, these are charges or things that you're not going to have to buy again for a while. So now you're starting to see some profits. Okay, I'm more organized. I know how to get in and out of the fabric store. I'm doing more business. I'm doing more of these big gowns. I'm doing more bigger projects because I know how to stay organized. I know how to grow within myself. This is what's going to happen. You're going to grow, and you're going to grow slowly in the beginning because your money is going to be in the recycling stages. You're going to be recycling your money. After 2 years, you should start seeing profits because you have everything you need. You really don't have to buy anything to keep your business running. You have what you need. Your inventory is good because you started keeping inventory of the tools that you have or the things that you're selling. So this is where your money, and this is when you're going to start seeing some profit. Okay. So please don't expect profit the first year. It's not going to happen. And you need to spend money in order to make money. Spend money by what I mean by that is investing in your current business. Okay. All right. I think I've covered everything. I think I get everybody. I covered all of my points that I have listed here. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions for me? I actually did take an hour. I thought it was going to be less than an hour. Let's see. Do you charge for shopping? I'm looking through. No other questions? All right. Since you guys don't have any questions for me, thank you, Jana. I am always available. You guys, like I said, you can ask if something comes up. You can ask the question here on Facebook. Feel free to email me, or you can ask questions in the sewing group. I don't have a problem with that. I will always get back to you. And if you know how to contact me on the phone, send me a Facebook Messenger. It's fine. I have no problem answering any questions for you guys. And that's about it. Just a little tidbit. And this is just a little something that I'm doing is I asked Oliso to send me an iron. And then I told him, I said, I'm not I'm not an influencer. But I'm in the sewing community and I touch certain people that are doing businesses or whatever. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm still waiting on my iron. They didn't say no, and they follow me on Instagram. So maybe I'll get this iron. All you can do is ask, right? And all they can say is no. And if they say no, then guess what? I'm no worse off than I was before I asked them. All right. Guys, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll be glad to answer them. And thank you for joining me. And I guess I will talk to y'all later. Bye. I hope so too, Jenna. Bye, you guys. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Bye.